Shalom, my friends from here in Israel. Praise God. After a week of being stuck outside of Israel, I am home and landed safely, and I'm right back to work. I've hugged my family, kissed my family, already been in the bomb shelter with them, and there might be a siren at any moment, in which case I'll either end this recording or I'll take you with me to the bomb shelter. But I've gotten right back to work. When I was in America, the fellowship continued to operate. I oversaw everything, and we have the most incredible staff and volunteers who, from the second the first Iranian missile was launched towards Israel, our staff and volunteers were on the ground bringing hope, bringing comfort, bringing aid. As of now, since Thursday, the fellowship has distributed around $2.5 million worth of aid. Today alone, we placed 5 bomb shelters. Tomorrow, we're placing 5 more bomb shelters. And we're having more bomb shelters being made as I speak, that we ordered over 50 bomb shelters to be placed in the most at-risk locations where there are poor elderly and they don't have anywhere to seek shelter. Right now, many of them are hiding under their beds and simply praying as the rockets explode overhead. And many of them, the rockets are exploding in their towns. We've been on the ground with these elderly who have been affected by direct rocket hits. We've been on the ground providing food and meals. You might have heard of the tragedy in Bat Yam, where there were many children that were killed, an entire building that was affected, and many buildings around it that had broken windows and cars that were destroyed. And so the fellowship is there as we speak right now, going door to door, delivering meals to poor elderly, because it's a very, very poor neighborhood. And many of the elderly are alone, they're terrified. And so we're going to their door, we're bringing them meals, we're giving them a hug and telling them they're not alone. The other thing that we're doing is going to the place where all the evacuees have been brought, people whose families have been killed in these rocket attacks, people whose homes have been destroyed, people who can no longer live in their apartments because the windows are broken and the walls are torn down from the impact of the ballistic missile. The fellowship is there in those evacuation centers, and we're providing aid to them. They have a roof over their head, thank God, but it takes time for bureaucracy to come through in order to give them the ability to buy things that they need to buy. And in one instant, the rocket hit and they lost everything. They don't have shoes, they don't have a toothbrush, they don't have socks, they don't have clothing for their children, they don't have anything. And so the fellowship is there, and we've provided them already with emergency cards that they can use now without any bureaucracy in order to buy whatever they need. Now, we do this without any bureaucracy, without any waiting, but we do it with full accountability because we're in touch with the Ministry of Welfare here in Israel. We're in touch with the local municipalities, and we have a list of all the people who are considered evacuees, all the families whose homes were destroyed. And so we have a list of who is on that from the government of Israel. And then we go and we find them and we provide them with this first responder humanitarian aid of food, of clothing, of toothbrush, of shoes, the basics that they don't have. And we match off their ID card with the list that we have to make sure the right people are getting it. And so this is a huge operation that we're doing. We're on the ground. Whenever a rocket hits, the fellowship is there to provide that first response humanitarian aid. We're there with the elderly, going house to house, bringing them meals, and we're placing bomb shelters as I speak in Tel Aviv and in Haifa, which are the cities in Israel that have been most targeted. And something that's so important to remember here is that the people of Israel right now feel so alone, and all of this aid is the fellowship saying that there are Christians around the world who are standing with Israel. There are Christians around the world who are praying for Israel. There are Christians around the world who are acting, who are seeing the least of these elderly who feel lost, who feel hopeless, who feel like nobody sees them, knows them, cares about them, that they're living in the middle of a war with their homes destroyed and nowhere to turn to. And then the fellowship shows up and says, this is from Christians in America and around the world, and Jews who love you and who are standing with you, who are praying for you, and who are bringing you the food. And this is the most important message. It's both the food, that the people right now are desperate for the basics, but it's also that message of you're not alone. And that's what the fellowship is providing. Wherever you go across Israel right now, you see the fellowship. What we've been doing throughout the past year since October 7th. Wherever you see first responders going and looking through the rubble for survivors and pulling out both live survivors and also, unfortunately, bodies, you see them wearing flak jackets that say International Fellowship of Christians and Jews that we provided to keep them safe. Whenever you see an ambulance pull up, you see that it's an ambulance that the fellowship provided. Whenever you see an emergency first responder, it's the fellowship's vehicle that they're driving. Right now, there are NICU babies that are in a sheltered space in a hospital in Israel. And that's a sheltered space that the International Fellowship of Christians and Jews donated. Across Israel, in hospitals, they are protected and able to save lives because the fellowship has built shelters in the hospitals. And so this is my opportunity to turn to you and say thank you. Thank you, thank you. As we say in Hebrew, Toda Rabbah, for being the watchman on the walls of Jerusalem. We know who wins this war. We know that good always shines out the bad. We know that light always overcomes the darkness. We know that justice always wins. And we know that Israel represents the sanctity of life that's fighting this value against a death cult that has no values because they just worship death. Israel is standing up for the Western world because Iran, as we all know, is a threat to American troops that are stationed in the Middle East. They have missiles that can make it to America, that can make it to Europe, and all they want to do is destroy the West. And so Israel right now is the buffer zone. We are taking the hits and we're taking it hard. Our homes are being destroyed. Our apartment buildings are being hit. Our hospitals are being affected. Every single person here in Israel has been in the shelter many times a day as hundreds of ballistic missiles have been launched and also falling in our tiny country the size of New Jersey. But the International Fellowship of Christians and Jews is here with your voice providing this life-saving aid. You look at the scriptures, you look at the Bible, and it says, feed the hungry. That's what we're doing as missiles are falling. Clothe the naked. That's what we're doing for people who have lost everything in these missile attacks. Shelter the poor. That's what we're doing for people who have lost their home in an instant and have nothing. And we're doing it in the name of Christians and Jews around the world who are saying, we will not abandon you. We will not forsake you. Nachamu, nachamu ami. Comfort, comfort my people. And all of you have been watching the news, and I feel how you've been praying for the peace of Jerusalem. I feel how you've been standing up and saying, Hineni, here I am. And so from here in Israel, I want you to know your voice is heard. Your prayers are received, and we are so grateful for them. So thank you for standing with the International Fellowship of Christians and Jews as we are on the ground saving lives. I pray the promise of Genesis 12:3 on your life, on the life of you and loved ones. You should be blessed tenfold for everything you do for this holy land. Shalom.